Alrighty. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of mine heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our Redeemer, and it is in His name, which is His authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect tonight's message. Shaman. Barakallah Cham Yahweh Anak Kavai. Servant to Christ, Mashalom. Hello, everybody. I am Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant to Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time, by being the voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. Thank you for being on. We appreciate you. We give all honor and praise to the Most High. We give all praise and honor to Him for my wife, the Honorable Alma, who is on with us. As always, you can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A&D, the letter N. Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. Love you, babe. Thank you for being on, and thank you for allowing me to do what I do and being one with me as we do what we do. We're continuing on the road, as you can see, so we will probably take a little breather in the in-between and prayerfully get to our destination to where we can finally kind of be back on the home front, at least for some months, maybe a month or so, as we try and finish stuff up there finally. Praise Yah, and thank you guys for your prayers. Thank you guys for your help. Thank you guys even for different types of help that you've given in many different ways. We appreciate you. We're praying for Brother Jimmy and Sister Marion to make it to their destination safely. So keep them in prayer, and any of you going through, we're keeping you in prayer as best as we can. Thank you, everybody who was part of Thursday Rising Prayer earlier today. We very much so appreciate you. We're going to go ahead. We won't be on too long before you, as you can tell. As we said, we're on the road right now, but we'd like to go ahead and just give be obedient and give a message and give some encouragement, maybe some motivation today. So we'll go ahead and say our Bible pledge. Before we do that, let's go ahead and say hello, everybody. How you doing, Sister Dawn, Minister Tamara, Chantel, Tanisha, Deborah, Zahara. Once again, to my wife, the Honorable Alma. Hey, how you doing, Brother Charlie? Minister Jenny, Sister Carla, Springtime. Don't forget #SOC. See, we start this stuff too, and we don't stay faithful, committed to it, or whatever. Keep that up and check out what your brother or your sisters do, and see if you can make sure that you make an effort so that they can bless you and you can bless them. Right? How you doing, Big Brother Thomas, Pat Green, Philip, Lottie Dottie, and everybody? We appreciate you so very, very much. How you doing, Jay Boogie? Everybody, come on in. All righty. So let's go ahead and say our Bible pledge, and we'll jump right in. How you doing, Shane? Everybody, thank you so much. We appreciate you, Beck. Alrighty. This is my Bible. This is my sword. And this will I trust. For Yahshua is Lord. No sword of God shall ever be heard. For this is my Bible. And this is Yah's word. Hashem Yahweh. Aman. In Yahweh's name. Amen. Alrighty. Hola, mi hermana Sherry, ¿cómo está? Tonight, we're going to focus on you are not my peer. Now, this is not me talking down to you. This is us giving a reminder to you that you might be talking to people and expecting them to comprehend where you are, because you're making the assumption that they are your peer or they are on your level. And although that might seem like somebody's not being humble, humility doesn't mean that you don't admit who you are, and it also doesn't mean that you don't get to admit where somebody's coming from. So I'm going to do first, before we even get to the definition, I'm going to look up in the thesaurus, right? Peer in the thesaurus. What is a peer? What are other words we could use for peer? All right. Let's look at some synonyms for peer and some antonyms. Let's do both. So peer, P-E-E-R, not peer is in P-I-E-R, but peer, P-E-E-R. How you doing, Stephen? When I say you're not my peer, this is another way of looking at the word peer. Peer is a noun, right? As in a person who is another's equal, or somebody who's on the same plateau. How you doing, Sister Carla? If I didn't say so earlier, I think I did. But if you are my peer, it means that you are a person who is, according to the world standard, my equal. Now, you know how we feel about that word, but we'll say on the same plateau, the same level. If you are a peer, you are an associate. If you were my peer, matter of fact, if you were my peer, you might even be considered to be a rival. Mm-hmm. If you're my peer, you are my companion, possibly. If you're my peer, you could be like me. How you doing, Sister Monica? If you're my peer, you could even be considered to be a match. If you're a peer, some people would even say you might be a co-equal. Those are synonyms for the word peer. P-E-E-R. All right. Now, if we were to look, hold on. It just gave me a whole bunch of stuff and threw me off. I'm sorry. We might just have to leave it there. I don't know what it's doing. I got a wild signal out here, so it might be doing some weird stuff. But yeah, I think we got enough out of that, right? Just out of the thesaurus or synonyms that we could use, right? Let's go even to a place of now what the definition of peer is. What is the definition of peer? How you doing, Darius? If we were to look at these modern definitions, what would they say a peer is? How you doing, Sister Akita? Hey, how you doing, Greta? Thanks for being on, right? So what would they say a peer is? All right, as far as their definitions, coming from Oxford language, right? Okay, as a verb, appear is to look keenly, right? To peer, right? To peer, to look what? Look keenly or with difficulty at someone or something. So appear shouldn't be looked at as taken lightly, right? Peer can also mean what? To come into view or appear. But we also know as a noun, a peer is in fact somebody who, like we said earlier, is someone considered to be on your level. Now, I say this lovingly, because, and I'm not saying this to you directly, but I am saying you might have to have this in your mind, that not everybody you talk to is your peer. And sometimes, even if you have to say it in your head while you're looking somebody in the eye, maybe you don't have to say it out loud all the time, but sometimes you might have to remind yourself, this person is not my peer. You are not my peer. You are not on my level. You are not. As I look closely at how you appear, I realize we are not peers. We are not the same. We built different. You're not like us. You're not in the community. Your language is off. The way you think is off. We might even be blood, but remember, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. Right, that's the actual saying. It's not blood; it's thicker than water. But right, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. So even when I look at you, and I'm trying to look at you as if you're on my level, I can't automatically assume. Once again, I'm not trying to talk down to anybody on here tonight. I'm saying you've got to start looking at this at who you talking to, right? You said, what? That's the condition of being set apart. Yeah, and what we've been conditioned to do is to say everybody that shows up. And look, can we be honest? I know we're not really feeling the whole what school teaches and all this stuff and how people trying to get you set up to go into the machine and be part of the beast and all that, right? How you doing, Minister Stephen? Right? But let's keep it a buck. Let's be honest. You ready? Let's have some honest dialogue. When you went to school, wasn't it upsetting sometimes when everybody had to be treated the same? When you would put effort into something to get to where you were, and everybody had to be treated the same? As if we're all equal, or as if we all learn the same, or if you had to be separated because you didn't learn the same as everybody else. Clay, sure, whatever question you have, feel free. And how you doing, right? Hopefully it's a question, right? but come on with it. How you doing? What is it? Shamo Al Yahudah. How you doing, Sister Nakia, right? Wasn't it frustrating when everybody just said we're going to treat everybody equal and there's no such thing as equality? We know there's no such thing as equality. Because if everybody was equal, then everybody would be the same. But you can't love two people equally. These are conditions of the world that have seeped into your thought process, and now you live by that culture rather than the proper cultural influence. But no two people can be loved the same. I have many a spiritual son and daughter, and none of them are the same. Not one. My wife and I are not equal. That's because she's better at some things than I am, and I'm better at some things than she is. She's created to do things I cannot do. I'm created to do things she cannot do. Doesn't mean one's better than the other. Matter of fact, we need each other, but we're not equal. All right, and because we think we're equal, we're asking amiss. And sometimes we're having conversations thinking that these conversations are righteous and equal, but we're having unrighteous and unequal conversations, right? We're not evenly yoked. Because the thing that should yoke us is the thing that not makes us equal, but the thing that has us do an equal task. If you recall this, right? Being equally yoked. We've been taught different. Recall this. People will say, well, I'm not equally yoked, or you need to be equally yoked. And they teach that means you have to be the same. But in the culture, being equally yoked literally means that I would have two oxen. One oxen is older and wiser. One oxen is younger and stronger. The two have a yoke that ties them together, correct? That yoke is what ties them together, but they are not equal. Sometimes something will happen where the older ox, who has the experience of hearing the calls of the master and knows how to get to the reward sooner, will go ahead and just go ahead and hear and know they're supposed to do something and start doing it. And even if the younger one is flipping out and can't comprehend what's going on, the older one says, look, nope, this is what we're doing. I'm not going to let you drag me into something we're not. I'm not going to allow you, because we're yoked together. I'm going to give you my experience. I know what the call is. I know what we're supposed to do. Let me go ahead and do this. Follow me. And if you follow me, I promise you'll get a reward. And it helps the younger ox to be able to do what's necessary. On the flip side, sometimes the older ox, who is older and wiser, is also not as strong as the younger ox, or doesn't have at least the endurance that it once had. And therefore, when the older ox knows something needs to be done, the younger ox takes over and says, hey, I might not be equal to you as far as the wisdom piece, but I am equal. I'm more than enough. I'm more than you when it comes to the endurance and the strength level. So I'll use my youthful exuberance in this area to go ahead and carry us, while you just make sure that you lead me in the right direction. You tell me the voice of the master, and I'll use my strength, right? The two coming together, being yoked together, but never equal. If they were equal, they wouldn't be able to complete the task. If you had two older ox that both passed out at the same time, then you're going to have a problem. But if you have a younger ox that says, I won't allow you to pass out, I'll take on the extra effort. You just make sure we're going in the correct direction, right? Equally yoked, right? So, but they're yoked together. See, watch this. It is the yoke that allows them to be peers. Ooh, how you doing, Brother Aaron? Did you catch that? It is the yoke that connects them, that allows them to be peers. And the yoke is what brings them together. You can't just use any yoke. You can't use ox yoke on humans. Because if you use an ox yoke on a human, guess what will happen? It will rip the flesh off, because the yoke that brings the oxen together is not the same yoke that brings the human together. And if you try to use the yoke that you would put on a donkey, on an ox, it's not going to work as well either. Right? There's supposed to be it's a design to it. Even though you think it's just something you put on whatever, you can rip skin off. You can cause something to be too heavy or too tight. You can cause it to where you might break somebody down because you tried to put something on them that doesn't belong. David came on behalf to feed his brothers. He heard this uncircumcised Philistine who was out here talking trash about everybody. And the first thing they tried to do, once they finally said, okay, you can go ahead and do it, they tried to put the king's yoke, the king's armor on it. And he said, this is too big for me. It doesn't fit. I know that I'm already called to be a king, right? And I know that I've come to serve you, and I'm not here to touch Yah's anointed. That being said, though, you're trying to put something on me that's going to cause me more problem than it does righteousness. Let me go ahead and leave that to the side. I've already fought the lion, I fought the bear, and I didn't need any that type of yoke on it. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Come on, somebody. How you doing, Minister Tracy? It is the yoke that makes us peers. Are you yoked to what I'm yoked to? Then we can start talking as peers. We can start talking about kingdom sovereignty. We can start talking about nation building. But if you're not on my level, if you're not a peer of mine, you don't comprehend. See, being equally yoked doesn't mean we're equal. Equally yoked means the yoke makes you do the same equal task. Equally yoked just means I'm equally tied to it. If you're tied to it and I'm tied to it, we're both all in, and we might as well work together as one. Equally yoked does not mean you are equal. It just means you're tied in equally. It doesn't mean you're tied in with the same gifts. It means you're literally tied equally to the yoke. If one ox is tied, right? If an ox is tied, but not tied all the way, and the other ox is tied all the way, the one that's tied all the way, even if both of them are trying to give their best effort, eventually one ox is not going to be able to pull when he becomes loosened. Why? Because he wasn't tied in equally. That's what you should be worried about in your equality, right? If you're going to be my peer, what I need from you, I don't need you to be in my gift. because I need you to have some gifts I don't have. If you're going to be equally yoked, I don't need you to be able to preach me down. I'm not saying I can't accept preaching. I'm just saying I don't need you to out preach or try to out preach me. I already got preaching down. Right? My wife is a great herbalist. She doesn't need me as much as she likes it when I can say this or that, but she doesn't need me to go ahead and tell her about how herbs work. She doesn't need me to be like, hey, babe, you know what? That's that bark of that tree. It does da da da. She doesn't need me for that. She knows. Right? She loves it when I do, because it means I'm paying attention, I'm learning, I'm growing. But that's not what she needs from me. She needs from me the things that she doesn't have within herself, or at least doesn't have on the level or in the gift that I have, in the lane that I have, and vice versa. And some of you are having arguments because you're so busy trying to tell people what they do, which when they do it better than you do, but you don't give them the things that they are absent of. And some of you can't hear people because you only want them to tell you how to fix things the way you would fix it. But the reality is that they have another gift, and they can maybe help with the gift that you have no business even attempting to be in, because you've never considered that gift. You never considered the cost to work out what it takes, and you've never taken the time out to become proficient in it. So here comes your arguments. Why are you telling me this? I already know how to do this. But when he tries to tell you how to do it in a manner that you might not know, you don't want to hear it, because you don't realize just because you're equally yoked doesn't mean you're equal. Here it is that she's going to tell you something about leadership, and you say, well, I'm the leader. It doesn't mean that she's not a leader at all, and it doesn't mean what she tells you about the leadership that she won't fall back. But she needs you to comprehend you're missing the mark as far as certain leadership, and maybe you might not have been trained in that area, or maybe you need to have somebody tell you, get trained in that area so you can go ahead and do what you're supposed to do. Being equally yoked is important, but realizing that the yoke doesn't make you equal. It's actually the unequal, I guess. The inequalities, if you will. You're equally yoked, but it is the inequalities that are blessing you. How you doing, Elwin? Thank you, Chosen Alchemist. I see you. Right? I see you. So we got everybody who's busy trying to tell us all these different things about what we're doing, who we are, this and that. But what if you're not my peer? What if you're not yoked to what I'm yoked to? If you're not yoked to what I'm yoked to, then what's the conversation about? How you gonna argue me down about politics and I don't believe in anything other than the king? That's the only ruler I have. What are you talking about, a president in the United States? You trying to talk to me about a president, and your president set bad precedent because there are people that go against the will of God. That's not what I'm yoked to. Right? And you trying to figure out why you getting yoked up. Your life yoked up because you're not yoked to the master. You're not yoked to your brother. You're not yoked to your sister. You're not my peer. We're not going to sit here and have a conversation like we on the same level when you're not even yoked to the same thing. I see you, Minister Stephen. How you doing, Bobby? Looking for information on DMT? Okay, well, if you looking for something that we provide, all you got to do is look in the description with the video. And you can look in the link tree possibly, or you can text us at the 202 number, or either number, the 410 number, whatever the case might be, right? If you're my peer, you must at least be yoked. You must, and watch this, it's not even that you yoked to Yah, even though you should be yoked to him as well, because ultimately, Yahashua is our husband and we become the bride, right? Our bridegroom and the bride should at some point going to be yoked together. But also, it is the master who puts the yoke on us. And like I said, the yoke is specifically designed for whoever is going to pull the weight. So if we're going to pull weight together as peers, then I got to see if your skin can handle the same yoke that mine can. Have you taken off enough? How will we say this? Have you taken off enough corruptible to don incorruptible? Right? Yeah, who is your father? Who is your source? Who is your Abba? Who sent you? If you don't have the ability to carry the weight, because this is going to be a strain on you, you might even need to be born again or go through your gestational period or get off the sincere milk or grow to be an adolescent at least before you start talking about adult moves. How you going to be in the kingdom coming to me talking about marriage and you ain't ready for marriage according to our culture? Because in our culture, you got to be so adult and so raised in this that you don't date. Because in our culture, we don't date. We know what marriage is. We've been raised in marriage. We've been raised in a community of laws, statutes, commandments, decrees. You explain the corruptible things in a quick way, because that's not what we're necessarily focusing on tonight, but in a quick manner. Great question. I'm just saying that I don't have as much time as I normally would. So to quickly talk about corrupted, if it's corrupted, it means that it's away from its original intent, right? Like if you have a corrupted file, it doesn't mean that the file was messed up on purpose, right? That wouldn't be corrupted. That would mean somebody gave you like a file that was made to, do something to your computer or whatever on purpose, right? Or a corrupted file is not something that somebody gave you on purpose so you'd have bad information and you'd have something that wouldn't work. If they gave you that, that meant that they did that on purpose. A corrupted file is literally, it must be corrupted. It had another purpose, another intent. Somehow something happened to it that would corrupt it. This is why salvation is necessary. Salvation doesn't mean to be saved. To be saved just means to be rescued. You can rescue a corrupted file and it still remain corrupted. You see? So like you could have a corrupted disk and it could still remain corrupted, right? You saved it, like it might not fall in the water. So if you want, you could go ahead and catch the disk or catch the, I know disk is old school, forgive me for giving musty references, right? But you can catch the disk or the flash drive or whatever, and you could save it from not falling in the puddle, and then you could plug it right back into the computer. And once you plug it into your computer, you still have a corrupted file, right? But if you're going to salvage it, salvation, Tion, on any word makes it a noun, a person, place, a thing. So if I'm going to salvage it, that means that I have to bring it back to its original intent. So to salvage it means a process. You must work out your own salvation, the original person, place, or thing that you're trying to get back to, right? You work that out, your own salvation, with fear, respect, and trembling. You might even need to be worried about, hey, let me get this careful because I'm looking at something to salvage to get me back to my original intent. So when somebody is corrupted, we're talking about you have been taken away from your original intent. That's why Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10 or 12, one of them, says, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities. So if you look up the word principality there, it means origins, kingdoms, or kingdom origins. So if somebody's corrupted your original intent, they're saying what we're saying, not even what we're saying, what I'm telling you, what I'm sent to tell you as a messenger, as an ambassador on this ambassage is, we have literally forgotten what our original purpose was. We don't have vision for original things, and we don't value things that are original. We value something that's always taking us further away from who we really are. So therefore, our purpose, part of our purpose should be mandatory. Thank you, Ephesians 6:12. So part of our purpose that is mandatory is to get back to original intent, salvage, and to work things out, not just only have faith, because faith without works is something that makes no sense. It gives no fruit, if you will. Great question, though. Did you want to know the actual relationship of the whole spiritual system of understanding you exercise? Well, once again, to understand, it means to be under a standard. So the standard that we have tons of videos just on this channel, right? So you could literally look at questions that you would have, put in the search engine that goes with the channel, YouTube channel just by itself. We have other platforms as well, and you probably would get a plethora of things that you can go through. Obviously, you could look at SOC university stuff that we do. Obviously, you could look at a whole bunch of different things systemically and systematically that are put in place for us. You can go to the website and even look up our 7 Fs that have videos that go with each one, which is probably the beginning place for anybody that would want to, in some way, shape, or form, be part of the family or join, or even if you want to call it membership, do that. How you doing, Minister Maria? But amen, Minister Tamara. Yeah, the Bible is nothing more than law and case study, right? It's a law and case study for a particular family that wants to hold on to the original values of the Most High. The Bible is not written to everybody, right? And we make the assumption that it's written to everybody, but when you do that, you say everybody's your peer. So now that's why you had these long conversations with people who don't even know how to use the Bible, don't know what the Most High's name actually is. They don't even know that the God is not even a Hebrew word, but it's a Germanic term that means you can worship whatever you want. Therefore, you shouldn't be worshiping God, but he says he is Elohim, or what you call Elohim, but you should be careful with that because that even slightly means something different. But what you call Elohim, or what the Most High says, that's his title, his name, Yahweh. And people don't even know Barashat, which is the first word of what you call the Bible, or the first name, or the name of that scroll, which you call Genesis, which is actually Latin or Greek, which means somebody's focusing, and rightfully so, on familial things. But it's not just familial. It's talking about everything from the beginning is in that one word, because when you comprehend Hebrew characters, the origin of things, it was written in Hebrew, right? So when you comprehend the origin of it, you'll realize those 6 characters that start off everything are Bet, Aleph, Resh, Shin, Yao, Tav. It means this: the son who comes out the right family, who's one with the Father, becomes our head, being destroyed by being led by the Holy Spirit to the place it's finished. That also looks like a tav, or is a tav in Hebrew, but looks like a cross. If you comprehend that, you comprehend everything just about you're going to need to know for the beginning of this journey. But if you haven't gone through that or nobody told you that, yeah, right, you see what I'm saying? So it's a lifestyle. One of the things that we miss on this, we ask amiss, we live amiss because we're constantly, consistently trying to live however we want and not in righteousness. You see, so just that I can explain something in culture, authorized to do so because the culture that I come from is authorized by the king that we speak of. Even the word universe, if we're going to go to universal law, we have to talk about which is one, and then verse, a sentence, or even a spoken sentence. Put that together, the universe or an universe is a single spoken sentence. If I comprehend who spoke the sentence and I comprehend his laws, laws don't give rights, they protect rights, then if I comprehend his laws, everything else makes sense. How you doing, Brother Craig? How you doing, Omika? Right? So it's a lot to it. Yeah, even parables are there for a reason, right? Even and parables, by the way, parallel and able. Are you able to make parallels? Parallel lines don't even touch. See how the culture works? We don't even recognize it's telling us etymology, proper etymology. If it's parable, right, then it's a parallel. You're able to you're able to is a compound word. You're able to make parallels. Parable, you're able because you can think differently, you're able to make parallels. How are you thinking? You're thinking like in the kingdom of heaven. So in heaven, this is what we do. On earth, this is what you do. Heaven and earth really ain't going to touch like that, although manifestation comes out of heaven into earth, right? And if you're not careful, you can reverse the process and get some negative things to where you won't have heaven in you, and you can disqualify the heaven from living in you. But nevertheless, there are some things that you can learn from earth principles, even if they never touch heavenly principles. That's why they're parables or parallel and able to see the parallels. Parallel parables, able to see parallels. This is stuff that's a system of thinking, right? That's why it's so important to get our culture back. We would have known that had we not been made slaves. And that's tough. I had to hear that. And when I heard that myself, I said, "Ooh, I wanted to fight somebody." It's the truth. Had we not been enslaved and given credence to the slave master, and the slave master has now become your slave teacher, which, by the way, master means teacher. Slave owner is not always your slave master. Usually the slave owner becomes your slave master because he's the teacher of the house. That's why you have a master bedroom, but that's not just only for slave masters. You know, they had master bedrooms for us. If you were the head of the house, you should be the teacher of the house. You should be the one that your wife can look up to for knowledge and intimacy with the Most High, and you should be able to teach some things. Your son, your children, your servants, your maid servants for your wife, right? Her being their maiden, right? And and they being her handmaidens, excuse me. And you having servants of everybody, even your servants can become part of your family, and you're supposed to teach them righteousness. This is a system of thought. Hallelujah. All praises, right? All praises. Yeah, that's right. We're peculiar people. All praises to the Most High. So in your peculiarity, and watch the peculiar people, even in that, people means nation. So whenever you start seeing this word people thrown around, you got to start considering, are you part of that nation? Were you ever considered? So for example, if you read the Constitution or you read Declaration of Independence, we the people of the United States. Okay, stop right there. When they wrote that, were you considered to be part of the nation? Because if so, those laws and principles don't even match where you are. You can't be part of that system. You have to actually be sovereign because they don't protect you, because when they wrote that, that was not for you. I'm gonna try and say it again because I know somebody missed that, right? We the people of the United States. What we talking about? Well, you got to figure who was considered to be people or part of the nation. Who was allowed to even vote? Who had the right to vote? Did everybody have a right to vote? Did white women have a right to vote? Did women in general have a right to vote? If you had color, would you have the right to vote? No. So when it says we the people of the United States, it's not talking about you. Which means that if you keep talking about my rights and this and that or whatever, guess what? It doesn't cover your rights. You're making an absurd assumption. I don't care what you talking about. The Supreme Court said blah, blah. Look, I'm telling you right now, you're making an absurd assumption to believe that when something was written, this is how law works. When the law was written and it didn't protect your rights then because it didn't even consider you to be a natural person, you were an artificial person, hence you were property, hence you were a slave. It is weird for you to believe that we the people now all of a sudden means it protects your rights when nobody ever went back and changed that and said that And it's not we the people of the United States as of 1776 or 1891 or 1889 or 1887 or whichever one you want to argue for, right? It didn't mean we the people then. It's talking about we the people of the United. You have to change it to say we the people of the United States, including the indigenous American or the actual American, because an American is a copper-colored person indigenous to the Americas. Oh, wait a minute. So that means that the modern American is not even represented in the Constitution of the United States of America, which means that the American that's actually protected by the rights has to be an artificial person, has to be a fake person. They have to be the colonizer who identifies as the ones they colonize in order to be protected by the rights. Just like in law, the person who doesn't work, who doesn't toil, has passive income, and they don't get taxed because they actually aren't the people that produce the fruit. So the people who produce the fruit, because they're slaves, deserve to be taxed. Why? Because if you're in debt, you deserve to be taxed. If you're in debt, you are a slave. If you're a slave, you are in debt. If you are a slave, you get benefits and privileges from the people who own you, and that's where you make your living from. And therefore, everything that they give you gives them the right to be over you. Are you hearing what I'm saying? We just gave you sovereignty one in a nutshell for free. Right? There's still more to it, but I'm just saying, if you recognize that, right? How you keep talking about, oh, I'm this. Come on, Holy Spirit, speak your word tonight. Use your servant. Look, how you gonna keep talking about recognize me? These are not your peers. They don't even look at you as peers, because if they did, you would have been considered to be part of the people or the nation. You're not part of their nation. So why do you keep trying to sign up for everything their nation offers? The only way you can get what their nation offers is to be enslaved to it. Hallelujah, somebody. I'm not gonna be before you too much longer, I promise. Y'all can see it's getting dark out here. We still got some hours to go before we finally can get to our resting place for the night. I'm just trying to help somebody. I'm just saying. Yeah, we captivated by this. We're captives, captivated by a system that doesn't even think that you're an actual person, doesn't even consider you to be a being. You are a human being, but according to law, humans are monstrous because they rip down systems. If you ever knew what a human being was and that you have a right to exist without a piece of paper, the paper that you spend is meaningless. I just gave somebody a word. We might have to visit that tonight on Patreon, not just for SOC University, for everybody, right? I might have to it might be late in the middle of the night, but we might have to visit that even for 10, 15 minutes. Because look, if you ever comprehended that, anybody listening to me, if you ever realized that the only reason why this paper you spend and chase is something you think is valuable, the only reason why you spend so much time chasing it is due to the fact that somebody tricked you into believing that you must have paper to live. You got to be registered to live. You got to register to your state to live. You got to be registered to the state, which is a country, to live. You got to you got to register your card to be able to go behind the wheel. When you have the right to travel, you have to be registered to drive. But drivers are people that are employees of a company or of the corporation or of their country. If you're not employed to your country or not registered to your country or your state, then why would you ask permission to get behind the wheel of your car? If somebody ever recognized that all this paper that you're chasing is meaningless, is monopoly stuff, you would start looking to see how can I separate it and make sure that if I do carry paper, it's only paper necessary to show them that you need to get up out my face, bruh. I'm trying to go down the road, get up out my way. You're wasting my time and my money. The curtain was rent long time ago. You're using the paper like it's curtains. You can't go behind there unless you go behind the curtain. Them two greenbacks that are sitting up there with two slave masters, as you can walk back there and go ahead and have them do some offering to cover you. As if George Washington died for your sins or Benjamin Franklin died for your sins. I'm gonna say this. I'm not gonna say it the way I do, but I'm gonna be honest. Y'all forgive me. It's not even gonna sound fleshly. I'm gonna just fully admit you. I'm gonna fully admit to you, right? I'm gonna fully admit to you. I'm not gonna curse, but I'm gonna fully admit to you. It's just where it is. Y'all gonna have to forgive me. Pray for me. I'm trying to stop okay, look, pray for me. All right, because the way I'm gonna say it is whatever. Some of y'all need to hear it. I'm not gonna say it the way y'all would say it, but some of y'all need to hear it this way. Benjamin Franklin is one of the worst slave masters to ever exist. And you sitting up there talking about you all about the Benjamins, F a Benjamin. and forget what it's done to my people. Let it be removed from our memory bank. And I'm sorry if that sounds wrong. It's just where my heart is right now. Y'all gonna have to forgive me. Pray for me. I know that's wrong to say it that way. I didn't curse, but I'm just being honest, right? That Benjamin that messed us up. The slave, every person on your money is a slave master, every last one. Why keep giving them the credence you do and the credibility you do? I see you, Bruda. You hear what I'm saying? If Benjamin Franklin had been alive when you were alive, he would have asked, why are you out of your cage? If George Washington was alive when you were alive, if you go to Mount Vernon State, he would have made sure that he would have whipped you and then had you whipped twice and then would have said it was great. He would have ripped teeth out your mouth because he ate so much candy that all his teeth were gone by age 30. And then his servants and all those people who worship him will try to tell you that, oh, no, don't worry about that. That's not true because he had ivory teeth. Yeah, that was the 5th set of dentures he had. Him and his dentist, though, they came up with 4 versions before that, made of wood, actual teeth plucked from the mouths of his slaves, and made of metal. And yeah, they would have sat on chairs stuffed with your hair. Matter of fact, there's furniture. You can look this up, not just look it up. You can go look at this stuff in person for yourself. There's furniture made out of the skin of slaves. And you think they're spending them? Think about it. You spending them. They still lead you. They're gone. They are not idols to be worshipped, but they are because they're right there every time. You got to spend them. You know, in our communities, Native American communities, for those of us that are not Native American or part Native American, we don't even call presidents president. We call them town destroyers. Every last one of them. Because they all focused on destroying your towns. Obama, while he had y'all talking about the pipeline stuff, was busy still trying to make sure that he was doing what he was doing with the Mount Rushmore situation. If you don't know about that, look up the Sioux and what's going on with Mount Rushmore and how the Sioux are still waiting for their land that they never contracted out. And America's trying to force them and even give them billions now to say, just take the land. And they're like, no, we never sold it. We want what's ours. It's our country. And so America, the United States Corporation, is still in violation of a treaty. They're not our peers. And if you want to talk about them like they're our peers, let them be yours. They're not mine. They're not my people's. They're not my nation's peers. They're not my family's peers. They're not any of that, right? If you were my peer, you would love. If you were my peer, you would make sure my people ate. If you were my peer, you wouldn't be sitting up here, however many decades later it is, watching Flint, Michigan still not have water. Having my people, no matter where y'all at in the country, bathing in water that you wouldn't drink. You wouldn't have my people over in Ghana sitting up there trying to give them falsehoods of putting up people in the universities that actually hated them and wanted to see them lose their lives. If these are your peers, let them be yours. They're not mine. I'm just gonna let you know they are not my peers. And if you're gonna cape up for them, I'm sorry, I'm not even trying to get on you. I know we got disagreements, but I'm just saying if you're gonna allow them to even try to be my peers, well, Yah loves them. Yah wants them to come into acknowledgement of Him, but Yah does not look upon sin. And if you want to keep on not sinning, Yah will remove your name from the book of life. That's not my peer. My peers are in the book of life. Call it whatever you want. My peers are in the book. My peers love righteousness. My peers love marriage and love their husbands and love their wives. Those are my peers. You're not my peer. And if you want to go ahead and argue for that mess, then guess what? Let them be your peers. And I'm just here to tell you, no offense, but you're not mine. Not because I'm better than you, but because I serve something greater than you. I serve someone greater than you, and I serve law greater than both of us. And that means the law protects me and allows me to live greater than you, even if I'm not greater than you on my own. So serve what you will, but if you want to serve them things, you want to serve that foolishness, you want to keep lifting that up, I'm just letting you know straight up. And I say it, I say it representing SOC with my full chest. If you about that foolishness, you are not my peer. But if you want to be equally yoked and you want to be yoked by the master, you want to get this work done, let's get it. That's what makes us peers in the first place. All right. Love y'all, family. Appreciate you. We got to get on the road. You guys take care. Pray for us prayerfully. I will see you guys tomorrow in the Rising, 8 a.m. Eastern New York time. We appreciate you. And thank you guys so much for being on once again. And we will talk to you guys shortly. So you guys take care. Have a great rest of your night. And prayerfully, we'll be back in front of you 8 a.m. Eastern New York time tomorrow. And yeah, as always, we give our honor and praise to the Most High. We give our praise and honor to him for my wife, the Honorable Alma, who lives a life that's able to be honored. As always, check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A-N-D, the letter N. Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. We appreciate all of you. As always, it's been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant to Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being the voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. And until I have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again, please remember, as always, that you are loved, you're necessary, you're majestic, you're fearfully, wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shalom, family. Peace. Talk to you tomorrow. Stay safe out there. And don't let these false peers fool you. Have a great one.